Fair enough, yes.
So are there like other master's programs other than just like mechanical engineering masters that are like similar? that
Yes,
also look at
in our department, actually we have two, although the other program is called Master of Engineering, where you don't do a thesis that require a lot of research. It's only an engineering project and you take more classes. And that program is more for students who want to definitely make sure they graduate within 1 year. But those are usually you pay for that yourself. Those are only two choices that I know of. Yes?
What is the difference of like if you're working full-time and working a master's in terms of like class load?
Okay, very good question. So as a typical GTA teaching assistant, graduate teaching assistant or graduate research assistant, you get paid a stipend that on paper you are supposed to work 20 hours a week for your pay job. If you are a teaching assistant, they will be running the lab, grading the report, 20 hours a week. So it's half time. The other time is where you take classes. Typically 2 or 3 classes per semester, no more than that. And it takes about 2 semesters plus to finish the coursework, seven classes. So your stipend is basically a part-time job. The other time is you take classes and do the research so you can graduate. Does that answer your question?
I was thinking more like if you were working for a full-time company and they were paying for you to get a master's at the same time.
Oh, that's totally different. So I thought I learned to that earlier. Suppose you work for Parent Whitney and they have this kind of, they used to call it ABC program, whatever it stands for. But so you are expected to still put in 40 hours a week. You can do it at night, on the weekend, but your supervisor will tell you, you are no different than the person who sits next to you who is not doing a master's degree. Then they give you time during normal office hour to take classes, either online or on the campus near the company. And then you just make up the hours where you're taking classes. And you do your homework on your own. Obviously, you can't use company time to do homework, right? So you are entitled to a freedom to take classes at your own leisure, but you just have to make sure you're still putting in 40 hours a week. Does that answer your question? Yeah, I mean, it has to be fair, right? If I don't take an MBA, or if I don't take a master's degree and you do, and we're in the same department, and you can take off and work 20 hours a week and I work 40 hours a week, that's not fair to me, right? So that, in a nutshell, is how that works. And that's why I say it's very taxing, because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, yeah, especially if you have a family. Right? But people do it, I have seen it, and it's successful. Now there's another draw. When you do finish your master's degree or even PhD, I have seen that many cases. It turns out the compensation is not as well as you would if you get a PhD from outside and get hired by the company. You know what, after you get a degree, don't expect a 10%, 20% pay raise. It doesn't happen, to the best of my knowledge. Does that make sense to you? I'm not trying to be negative, but when you think of the big picture, there's no free lunch. Right? I mean, if I pay you 40 hours a week, full-time, I expect you to perform. If you want to get a further education, all for it, I'm very accommodating, but you gotta get a job done. Right? So I'm not discouraging you from doing that. There are many circumstances that your hand are bound, you have student loan or you have other commitment, you've got to have income. Then do it. That's not choice. Right? And there's nothing wrong with that. You just have to make commitment to spend that time to take classes, do homework, etc. On top of the full-time job. Yeah. And those are questions you should ask recruiter or ask human resources when you interview with them. Right. I think the government side may be a little bit more lax, maybe have more leeway, the company a little bit more stingy. They encourage it, they all do. Because they need it. They want you to have more degree, more education. Right, yes?
Approximately how long does it take to get a master's if you're doing that while working full-time at a company?
That depends. I would say at least, and some master program is only classes, no thesis. And I would say, based on my observation, at least 2 years. At least two. And a lot of that program, like in Northern Virginia, where people, many Hokies up there, and they want to get an advanced degree, and that's what they do. They just take online classes on their own time. Yeah, I would say minimum of 2 years. Yeah. It's all doable. It's just all your own commitment. And if that is the only option, then then embrace it. Yes?
Some grad schools that have their research projects like sponsored by an external company that's well established,
Uh-huh.
can you be confident you get a stipend that they'll cover your tuition?
Absolutely. So for those in the back, this is exactly what happened at Virginia Tech for all my research programs. They're all funded by outside company, Rolls-Royce, Caterpillar, excuse me. And they give me a contract of which a portion of it, a good portion of it, to be specific, like $60,000 of it, is for me to hire a graduate research assistant. So that student that I described is being paid $2,000 a month and a tuition of $8,000 a semester, all covered by the contract. And her job and his job is to help me to do those experiments. And where often those companies will hire those graduates, because they work with them, they know what they're capable of, and that's a pipeline for them to hire new engineers. So that's exactly how graduate school works. For those who had a stellar or better grade point average, that can be hired into that category. If you're not, if you are 2.8 or lower, you may have to prepare to pay for your own graduate school if that is your desire. And that's not bad. That hope will get you a better job when you finish a master's degree. Right? Other questions? Yes?
What is the competitive GPA or other factors that allow you to get into a program like that?
Which program? You mean a graduate program?
Yeah, where you're like every
Experience, job experience. Where have you worked before in the summer? Have you done any undergraduate research? All those as much weight as a grade point average. Right, so that's what I look for, and that's what all professors look for. Not a vanilla resume, just no different than company. Right? So that is what I keep encouraging you. You're a junior, just go get a job, go get something in your related field, even though it doesn't pay well, right? Because that's so important on your resume. Questions? Yeah.
Would you say undergrad research looks as good or almost as good as an internship with a company?
Almost, yeah. Question is, if your undergraduate research experiences certainly help, but I would prefer to have both. Right? The experience in the company will prepare you later in life, because eventually, whether you get a master or PhD, eventually we all have to go to work. Right? This is what all this is about. I'm here to make sure you get a good job when you get out of here, and send us a check when you make it big. Questions? Okay, so I want to spend a little time on entrepreneurship. So here are some questions that you should ask yourself as to why you want to start a company. And what does it take to be successful? So my own personal experience, my company is called Technology in Blacksburg. We started by having support from the government to do development program. It's called Small Business Innovative Research Program. And in doing that, this is 20 years ago, we get connected with a lot of Fortune 500 companies. So those are the Northrop Grumman, GE, and so forth, so on and so forth. And they get to know us. And they were impressed with how we can do some experiment in a very tiny, which is critical for them. Time is everything. Very often they come to us and say, can you do this yesterday? Because they are always there to make decisions on a multi-billion-dollar program that they want to have some data to make them feel comfortable. And cost-effective, I mean, you can do it, but if it costs millions and millions of dollars, they get shined away. And over time, we kind of make a name out of ourselves. So this is our management team. We are actually in Christiansburg. On the right side is our facility, wind tunnel, that we do component tests for a lot of original engine manufacturer. I mean, are you interested in touring the facility? Yes. You are? Okay. So maybe Thanksgiving, when we come back on a Wednesday evening, I arrange a tour and I buy you dinner?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, that's the deal. No, I will make the arrangement on Tuesday, class when we come back. Maybe you have to drive, so we arrange some carpool. It's outside I-81 exit right off Christiansburg. So we can have a half-hour tour. I'll tell you more war story, what we do, job expectation, and then I'll buy you dinner. There's a Pizza Hut next to the company, so we just all go there. No beer. Okay, I keep watching the watch. This is very enjoyable. If I have to spend a whole period on it, I have no regret. I think 5 years from now, you will not remember Nefisto. I hope you remember this, seriously. Okay, and I tell Mike to post this overhead online that I hope 5 years later, or better yet, 10 years later, when you're successful, you go back and look at this and you send me an email and say, Dr. Ng, thank you. Or you send an email to me and say, Dr. Ng, you're full of crap. All right, promise? So those are some of the companies we work with. We feel very privileged. We have classified work, and that's one reason why I don't always give tour. And we are helping to build better weapons for the country, and those are all good things. We cannot complain. So back to the bottom line. First, ask yourself, why do you want to be an entrepreneur? Those are the good reasons. Okay? You have to ask yourself and have all this background. You see an opportunity, wherever that is. Okay? Can be small, can be big. You're excited and you're willing to make sacrifice, because running a company or owning a company is no small task. Especially, if that's your full-time job. I also want to fully disclose, my company for me is only a side activities. I have approval from the university to devote 8 hours a week on side work like consulting, or in my case, I run my company. But my full-time job is right here, teaching and doing research. But if you run a company and that's your only source of income, there's no other alternative. You have to make it work. So my point is you have to work hard and make sacrifice. But if you believe in it, it's enjoyable. And that you are passionate about it, that will work. That's something you eat, sleep, and dream about, and that is what it takes. The wrong reason for doing that is, those are the things that not necessarily a good reason to start a company. So make that distinction. It's very subtle. It's very subtle. You have to have that passion. You have to like it, right? Because that's what you do. You're going to talk about it day in and day out. So what does it take now that you say, okay, I'm going to quit my day job and I'm going to devote full time to these activities? It's not the concept. Facebook is great. Airbnb is great. Uber is great. Great ideas. But become successful and scalable is always about the execution. How you do it. So think about that. You may have a brilliant idea that is one of a kind. But to be able to make it big takes a lot of teamwork, because you can't do it all alone. It's the execution. Remember that. So when some of you ask, how do I know it's a good small company? Talk with them about, hey, where is the company going? For us, we are a service engineering company. We contract work with a big firm where we test components for them. And if that's not what your cup of tea, you're on the wrong bus. And you need to get out. So I say here, where's the bus going? That means that you have to ask the company, what is your vision? What do you do? And for that, the communication skill and the ability to work with people, I put it as a premium. Because as a business owner, you cannot possibly do it all yourself. Now, if you want to start a company that for the next 30 years is only one man's show or one woman's show, then so be it. If you want to scale it, you have to work with people. And communication. Those soft skills I cannot stress more. I can't teach that. I have only about half an hour to teach that in your 4 years curriculum. But please make very conscious decision. And there's no shortcut. You do require to work hard. But to be successful in a big company, you have to work hard too, right? You just want to make sure you have a balance. Team building. So what I need to do to get the best people to work for me? You treat people with respect, right? It's kindergarten 101. When you think about it, do we practice it? It's up to you. I'm mobile. If I'm good, I can find another job and say bye-bye. And you reward them, right? Make sure they have a stake in the success of the company. You have bonuses, you have partial ownership. And sometimes, in tough time, you may have to decide you want to pay your associate first before you pay yourself. All companies go through up and downs. And if you can do that, people will go the extra mile for you, trust me. You can respect them, they respect you, it's mutual. So those skills is very critical in being an entrepreneur. Even in a big company, that goes without saying too. Never break your promise. You can lie to people once. You can lie to me once, and I learn from it. You lie to me twice, you will never see me again. You lie to me 3 times, it's just no way. So if you don't keep your promise, you are done as an owner. No one will follow you. And same with that is no surprises and be honest. No hidden agenda. Because people remember, right? They are not dumb. You don't want the dumb people to work for you anyway. And if they're that smart, they go. And the fact is, we all make mistakes. You have to learn to delegate. As the owner, you cannot do everything yourself, right? Especially the company has scale. And in my case, I only have 8 hours a week. I'm not going to go there and do experiment with my associate. Either they do it or they don't. So all these are attributes that make you a good leader. You don't manage them. You don't manage people. You need them. You set example. Right? Questions? No? Okay. So on hiring, so this is the other end. Your end will be you look at the company and decide if you want to join them. But on my end, I'm looking for who I should hire and for what reason. So it seems to go without saying. You have to be. You have to feel secure about yourself. You don't feel threatened that I hire a smart person and that is going to make me look dumb. I embrace that. You know, I'm truly I'm not that smart. My wife keeps telling me. I'm ordinary IQ and I do work hard. But the difference is I try to hire the smartest people. They're smarter than me. They can solve problems that I cannot solve. I like to keep them. Right? And I do whatever I can to keep them. Now, it also goes without saying as an entrepreneur, you're going to hire wrong people. Even in a big company. If you're the manager, you will make mistakes and hire wrong people. You have to let go of that person. You just do it with utmost care and respect. You have to. There's no if or but. It happens. It's a wrong match. Doesn't mean the person is not intelligent. It's a mistake in both parts. And you just handle it very, very delicately and very carefully. Give time for the person to find a job. But at the end, a couple of years later, you'll all be happy. You cannot tolerate someone who's not carrying the weight in the organization. That's just not going to work. Especially as the owner, you're not going to succeed. You have to have the guts to let people go. For good reason, not just for yourself, but for the other party. Right? Because it's a waste of everyone's time. There's no shortcut. Your name, expert, we are 20 years old, is something that you should consider carefully and do the right thing so that people will come back. Right? It's not easy. Sometimes you tended to make shortcuts, but don't come back and bite you, always. And they're always up and down, like I said. It's almost like you're running your own household finance, which you're not very familiar with now, but in a few years you will. You have mortgage, you have car payment. Don't go out and buy a Mercedes-Benz. Have some reserve, because the down cycle is always there. You just have to prepare for it. And ask yourself, why do you want that company, and how big you want it, and how are you going to exit? Now, for you won't think of it. But you have to have a plan, because are you going to sell it? I mean, people work for you for 20 years. What are you going to do? Just close up and say, we all go home. Right? So you've got to have some plan of what I do when I retire. Or can I have a transition plan that can take over the company? And at that point, it's not just about money. I'm at that stage now. I've been 20 years, so we have a transition plan. If I get hit by a truck out the road and I die, they go up. And you have to plan on that. Because people will start asking, well, what if you, when you're in your 60s, they will say, well, what if you die tomorrow? What are we going to do? So it's more a passion then. You have responsibility for your associate who work for you for so long. Right? So those are I sounded too negative and too serious. And actually, I want this to be more an upbeat type discussion that you can factor that in when you decide to pull the trigger and say, I'm going to build the world's most profitable company to do fill in the blank. So networking, talk with people. Like here, I don't have an MBA degree. I don't know how to read financial statement, so I have to learn. And I read a lot of books. And you need, this seems trivial, but it turns out it's a whole network. If a company is to be successful, you need a lot of help. Case in point, you need good lawyers. They're not cheap, but they're worth it. You need good accountants, so you keep a book that is clean and IRS audit, everything is no problem. And small things like employee benefit. If you're the owner, you have to be involved in all those, right? Retirement, healthcare, all of that. It's things you don't think about if you work for the Boeing. But they're good. They're things that very doable. It's just you have to be aware of it. So company cash is everything. So when you expand, make sure you don't go overboard. Where you open the drawer, there's no money left. This applies not just for company, but our own personal life. I'm reasonably frugal. I mean, I always make sure that I don't go on a limb and get a lot of loan. And that goes expanding and growing. So this is what typical chart of a company revenue or profit or growth, whatever it is, versus year, and this is like 100 years, that's like the General Electric. It doesn't look that way at all. It's always up and down. Big swing. So much work, you have to work overtime. And then 12 months later, you come in and you're wondering what you're going to do because the work gone. Well, you just be prepared for it. And you ride it out. It happens. You just have to ride it out. Even in a big company, they face the same problem, it's just you're not aware of it. But you probably know if you work for Boeing and the work slow down and you can see it coming. So those are the realities. So my looking back takeaway is that whether you work for a big firm or a small firm, this is applied to everything. Honestly ask yourself, what are your strengths? What are you good at? And then do a evaluation of that. So those are what I consider my strength. I'm always good at team building. And if you want to be an entrepreneur, that is premium, right? Because I keep repeating, you can't do everything yourself. You'll die. And here are my weaknesses, I don't like to write. I hate writing. So I have someone write for me. So you have to look at your strength and build on it, and then you'll be successful. Each one of them is different, right? So here's what I think in the big picture sense that is important, that I don't want you to forget, is no matter how much money you make and how successful you are, and this is very personal, you may not agree with me, I think your family comes first, right? Which is not easy when I was your age. I have daughters and I have all these activities and I have a job. But you gotta balance it. Work-life balance for your generation is far better than my generation. I have 2 daughters, they're both married. I look at what they do is far healthier than when I was at their stage. But at the end of the day, on your deathbed, the only people who show up is your family, not your boss, not your partner, okay? So your health is important. So you can read that, you can have net worth of $1 million or $1 billion, but the one is your health, right? Take that away, you have nothing. No joke. You don't think about it. When I was your age, I don't think about it. I just keep walking. I mean, that's all I do. And if you don't enjoy it, don't do it. Don't do it. So this is what I think as Virginia Tech is good at. You all should be very fortunate. I think the fact you are here, you're already at the cream of the crop, right? And degree in mechanical engineering from Virginia Tech, and all those make you so distinguished versus graduate from UA, right? You are so much better. And people love to hire you, trust me. And you will show. You will show. So I will wrap up by saying that for me, based on my experience, those are the three most important ingredients. I don't care what you can apply that to running a restaurant, or entrepreneurship, or engineering, right? So, and work-life balance. Don't just work. Life is short. But at your age, it goes without saying that you pay dividend to walk that extra mile, so that later on in life you can relax a little bit. Just make sure you do that. You can't keep working 50, 60 hours a week, because it becomes a habit. It becomes ingrained in you, and then you just become a workaholic. You got to pull back. Hopefully your spouse will help, right? I mean, it's a partnership. Yeah, my wife always hit me on the stick and say, it's piano recital, stop working, let's go. Or volleyball game, and then I would go there with a pile of paper and grade them. That's bad. You don't want to do that. It's not worth it. So those are the people that I think I owe a lot of my experience with, and there are some references that work for you to look at. This paper will be particularly important if you want to work for a big firm, and I will email that to you after final exam. And then you can read it at your leisure. So questions, we have 2 minutes left. Entrepreneur, I'm sure you have a lot of questions. Yes?
So you had a slide a little bit about government work. Do you have any insight on working in private industry versus working in government?
Okay, I want to be very sensitive when I say this, okay? I mean, a lot of you will be working for government, and a lot of your friends are working for government. It's a very secure job, and it's a very well benefit job, and you can know from the day you start to the day you retire what you're going to be doing. And it's for a lot of our Hokies, we love it. I have graduated working in DC, Naval Base, and so forth. All right? So if you're that type of person, go for it. Now, if you are different, you say, I'm going to build a company with 100 employees, or I want to be making a whole lot more money, then that may not be the kind of job for you. All right? So you have to take that into consideration. The only way you can find out is you talk with people, you talk with your friends, your relatives. What do? They can go on vacation 9 o'clock. They just take off. But if you work for, say, Pratt & Whitney, and an airplane drops from the sky, and it's in your department because the engine failed, you're not going anywhere. You're going to work. There's no free lunch. But you may make a whole lot of money then. And you may retire early. You may retire in your 50s. Right? So it's all your preference. I can't answer that. Other? Anyone else? Yes?
So not to the fullest extent of entrepreneurship, but I designed something at work and people were like, oh, you should get a patent on that.
Mhm.
But it was at work, so it was technically theirs, whatever I did with it. At what point / how can you design something that may be towards your company and towards what you're working
Yeah.
on, but it's yours?
This is a very important question for those who work for a company. Everything you do belongs to the company. Okay? The only exception is if you're doing it at your home, on your own computer, that's completely detached from the company. Even then, if it's intellectually related to the company product line, you may still be challenged. So when you work for a company, there's just no way out of that. But that's the first thing I learned about GE when I work for them. In human resources interview, they just make it very upfront. Everything, including what is on your mind, belongs to GE. Don't even think of patenting it, because I'm going to sue you. Because I pay you. Unfortunately, there's no easy, clear-cut answer to that. But if you ask them, that's what they will tell you. It's an official company line. Yeah. And they want to do that. And also, if you're going to work for a competitor, if you're going to work for Siemens, everything you learn at GE is non-disclosure to a competitor. If you do, they sue you. They don't sue Siemens, they sue you. So you have to just, you are people who do that, they just cannot share the knowledge of what they work in the prior company with the new employers that I cannot talk about. It's not unfair, it's just the way it is. Right? Other questions? I know I'm running. So I get excited, I think this is time well spent. No assignment for Thanksgiving? Okay, so we'll pick it up when we come back. Have a good break, you all earn it. And I'll see you in a week. So Wednesday after Thanksgiving, I'll send out an email. I do want to sign up maybe electronically or maybe do it on Tuesday Because I need to know how many people are coming.